I'm excited. You got to understand, this is my first real in-depth interview as a director. Man, I really want to write like a movie. And I see all these people, they kind of say, I mean, whether it's Tarantino, I've seen a lot of people say this, like, if you're going to get into the game, like, you should either do a comedy or a horror. Like, those are kind of like a real great place to like grit your teeth and do it because it's like, I think it's easy if you know it. Like, if, excuse me, in your heart, you feel suspense, like, then go make a horror film. And if you're in your heart, like, you have that comedic timing and pacing and all this, then go do that. And I was like, oh, maybe I could do a comedy. So I wrote it. Originally, it was called Everything Must Go. Now, this is before another movie with the same title starring Will Ferrell came out. And when that happened, I was like, oh, okay, I guess I got to change this title one day. So I'm 25. I write this movie. It's dog shit. But I had written this thing. It was whatever. 3 years go by, right? And I'm just like really reaching the height of my music career. This is probably like 2018. I decided to rewrite Paradise Records 3 days, excuse me, 3 years later. At the time, it was still called Everything Must Go. I hadn't figured that out yet. And then I befriended JJ Abrams, and I've never asked for favors. And so I'm with JJ and we're eating breakfast. Hey man, I have this script and I'm curious, right? Because me and him just connect on music. He's a big fucking nerd. He loves music and stuff, and I love space, and we vibe together. The incredible true story is actually it takes place in the year 2115 about basically Earth is inhabitable and there's 5 million human beings left. Living on a space station called the Babel space station, and we believe that we found a habitable planet called Paradise. So there's these two guys that go into space and try to find this planet. That's what my second album is about. My third album, Everybody, actually stars Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he plays God, which I thought was really funny because he's an atheist. That's how JJ found me, right? He had listened to that album, and then we became buddies. So anyway, we're talking. I go, hey man, I've got this script and I don't want anything from you but advice. I mean it. I'm like, I got this script and I really believe in it. I think there's something there and I really want to make movies, but I don't know shit. And he goes, you have a script? And I said, yeah. And he says, well, I advise you give me the script. Let me read it. And I go, no, 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 no. It's not like that. I just want your advice. He goes, I advise you give me the fucking script, man. I'll check it out. And I'm like, all right. I actually had the script on me because I'm like, we talk about like vintage stuff. Man, I write scripts on fucking 1950s Smith Corona typewriters and shit. I'm weird. So I have this giant script. I give it to JJ. He calls me a week later and he goes, my head of film read the script. She loves it. We want to meet with you. And I go, oh, okay. They're going to give me some advice. I show up. And before I even realized what's going on, they're basically like, "Oh, we want to produce this movie." And I couldn't believe it. I was like, "What? Like Bad Robot? Like what?" JJ was there. His head of film was there at the time. It was amazing. Fast forward, months go by. JJ done more than enough. Like this was out of his hands. He's over there fucking working on like episode 9 or some crazy shit, right? So, and then his head of film leaves, and then I start to understand the musical chairs that is this business. His head of film leaves, somebody else comes in, the things that she loved, he thinks could be different. So then I go in and I change all those things, but then he leaves, and then two other people come in, and everything that he wanted, they say they don't like. They wish I had done it more like XYZ, but XYZ is the same way that the original head of film liked it, and before you know it, it all fucking blows up, and then nothing happens, and I'm left distraught, and I feel like this is never going to happen for me. Nobody's fault. Me and Seth MacFarlane were at his house because me and him are doing an album together where he sings classic Sinatra and then I chop it up on my MPCs and rap over it and shit. So imagine a whole album like that. Really fun, right? So this is like 2 years ago. And so I'm at his crib and like, we're sipping and we're talking about everything. We're talking about cinema. We're talking about everything from the, 1920s, as I say, Citizen Kane, Orson Welles, Lawrence of Arabia, Peter Sellers, comedies through the 80s, independent 90s, Maximus, glorious independent films, Soderbergh's, Wes Anderson, Tarantino, Paul Thomas Anderson, fucking David O. Russell, like all these like goats, Richard Linklater. I could go on Spike Lee, Spike Jones. How the hell do you know about all that? And I'm like, what do you mean? And he goes, it just doesn't make sense. How do you know so much about movies and all this shit? And I go, because I love it. I was raised by cinema. Celluloid is like It's all I think about. And he goes, well, then why don't you make a movie? He was like, I'll put you in my shit. But I never followed up on that because once again, I'm the guy who doesn't want to text Seth and be like, yo, you gonna put me in Family Guy, man? Like, I like fuck all that shit. You know what I mean? I'd rather just like hang out, shoot the shit, and learn and grow as a human being. So I don't know. Maybe somebody will see it. Like I know his whole team. I've just never brought it up. I'm content. What do I want to be on Family Guy? Yeah, fucking yeah, I do. That'd be awesome. He goes, look, man. You need to go make your own fucking movie. Take a couple million bucks, go make your own movie. And I'm like, hell yeah, Seth MacFarlane's. That's exactly what I should do. And then I woke up the next day, hungover, like, fuck no, I'm not doing that. Right. A week later, Kevin Smith calls me. He goes, hey, kid, you want to be in my next movie? I go, oh my God, because I always thought I wanted to just act. I'd been on a million auditions and all these things. I just wanted to be on screen and just act. And I said yes. The next thing I know, I'm opposite Diedrich Bader in blue fucking spandex on a spaceship for the 4:30 movie, which came out from Kevin Smith. And that night, he invites me to his house and he shows me a cut of the film. And before he does, he goes, you're pretty fucking good at this, kid. What are you doing about that? I go, what do you mean? And he goes, movies. Do you want to make them? And I go, yes. I don't know how. I don't understand. And he goes, oh, you just got to call your friends. And I go, no, I could never do that. I would never call a friend and ask them for something because I never want them to think I'm using them. And he goes, fuck that shit. Use them. He goes, yeah, you're not using them in some like, negative aspect or whatever, in some malicious manner. He goes, they're called players for a reason. They want to play, they want to have fun, they want to have a good time. And he goes, take a couple $1 million and go fucking do it. And he says, you said you got scripts, right? And I said, yeah. He goes, what are they? I said, I mean, I got one that's kind of like a mixed sci-fi psychological thriller. I got another one about a homeless comedian who tells jokes on Venice for $1 and his rise through the comedic circuit. I got another one takes place in a record store. People just talk shit all day. He goes, record store? I said, yeah. He goes, one location? I said, yeah. He said, comedy? I said, yeah. He goes, that's the one to shoot. I said, why? He goes, because it takes place in one location. It's easy and XYZ. And I go, I don't know, man. I don't think I can just make a movie by myself. And Kevin Smith goes, I did it. You know what I mean? He's like, you can do it. And that was it. I called everybody. He connected me with his producers, and that was it. So why did I want to make the movie? Why did I choose this movie? So there's going to be other people out here who are watching, and I want them to know the truth. I made this movie because it was the best thing for me to make. It was easy to call all these people. And I was blessed enough to have people in my corner, Kevin Smith included, who were like, I'll be in your movie, I'll edit your movie. He's never edited anyone else's film.
Mhm.
And I was like, it's either now or never, and cutting millions and millions of dollars, cutting a check for that is very scary. It doesn't matter how much money you got or don't. Like that shit was terrifying. And I decided to do this film. Um, because I knew it. And also, like, bro, I'm a white passing black guy, a mixed race. Like, it's funny, it's hilarious. Some people will agree with it, some people won't. Isn't that great art? So that's why I made this movie. Kevin Smith, Seth MacFarlane, and JJ Abrams are the three signatures I needed to be a part of the Directors Guild, which is like insane. I do not take any of this for granted. I am the luckiest guy in the fucking world, man. Um, that was amazing and really scary. And I remember playing the film for him and all his childhood friends. And so they all have the same, similar, very raunchy kind of comedic vibe, if you will, of what they enjoy. And I remember my heart was beating through my chest because like I'm a son of Dave, like and many people and many comedians and writers, but like Dave is like one of my biggest inspirations watching Chappelle's show at 13, 14 years old and kind of doing all that. It was amazing. And he really fucking loved it, man. And we text about it. And every time something happens, I'm like, I just did $1 million in pre-sales. He's like, yeah, let's go, Bobby. Like he's like the nicest guy ever. So I get these custom VHSs made, and this is my episode of Rick and Morty, which is really funny. And it was an incredible experience. He even put with special guest logic. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's pretty awesome. It was amazing, because it was like being on like The Simpsons, like the new wave of stuff. And I've been blessed enough to do a lot of really cool things and be one of the first artists to do things like D2C merch pairing merchandise with albums and stuff like that, to increase sales and stuff. And um, with Rick and Morty, I was like, dude, like this is going to be the future. And then I somehow befriended, the creators, and Dan Harmon brought me in and was just like, yo, like we'd love to have you do some kind of a rap song. And then we like collaborated together, and it was really funny and weird and cool. And I got to see the studio and where they do everything. And it was a real dream come true. So it was kind of cool to be like ahead of that curve and like I don't know how to explain it, but kind of like be on Rick and Morty before it was super cool. It was like it was a really cool experience for me. Uh, I look back on my childhood and like things I got to experience without question. I've just never been one to like focus or dwell on the past. I think if anything, my issue is the future. Like I'm always like kind of I'm doing my best to be as present as I can. I talk to my therapist about it. And I say all this to say that, like, I have a great fondness for the way we communicated, the presence we had. I remember when the world felt like the world, and I feel like nowadays the world doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like you can go to like a little town and just kind of be on your own, like you're by yourself because you have your phone. And I think it's amazing that we have that phone because it keeps everyone safe. It really does. It's like I can't even imagine not having it, which is weird. But when I think about VHS and I think about all that, um, it was amazing. I remember watching Fifth Element on HBO in 1998, poured illegally like all my favorite movies and shit. You know what I mean? And we had illegal cable. Like I grew up in the hood, and so my escape was through cinema first and foremost. It was through movies. It's like I learned how to court a woman by watching black and white movies and treating women with reverence and respect. Escape as a child, and now it allows me to enhance as an adult, which is really cool.